Okay? All right. So, when you look at that picture, one way of finding period, and deliberately, I structured this picture a little, I didn't label like a whole bunch, left some of it up to you. But one way of finding the period is to go from like minimum to minimum, or maximum to maximum, or if it's more convenient, you can go from minimum to maximum and then double it. You see what I'm saying? Minimum to maximum and then double it, bring you back down to the minimum again. So, if I look at my picture, I have labeled negative pi as a minimum and pi over 3 as a maximum. How far is it from negative 1 to 1/3? How far is that? Okay, we're in honors math. Negative 1 to 1/3 is how far? 1 1/3 or 4/3, right? 4/3. So if that's minimum to maximum, 4/3 pi, then what will the period be? 8/3 pi. So 8 pi over 3. 8 pi over 3. Does that make sense to you? You're one of the people, yeah. Lots of the papers that I graded, which wasn't a lot, but the majority of papers I graded, we missed that. So do we have it? So 8 pi over 3 is your period. Then what would your frequency be? 3 over 8 pi. And when you write that, you guys, you gotta write it as literally 3 over 8 pi. Don't be doing this. That's a whole different ballgame. This is how you write it. Make sure that pi is in the denominator. What, most of us got our midline, right? Our midline is y equals 2. Remember, the midline is a line. So we get in the habit of writing it just like an asymptote, write it as an equation. And then what was your amplitude? How high were your hills? 2. Yeah, so your amplitude's 2. Okay?
Frequency, like, what does it tell you about?
Okay, you need to watch the video. Because I explained what frequency was. Okay. All right. So you can put that away or put it back in the plate or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that we were figuring out our period correctly. Because, remember yesterday when we were writing equations? If you don't know what your period is, you're not going to be able to find that coefficient on x. So that period is really, really an important thing. Okay, let's look on page 7 of our notes. We're going to do a lot of graph work today. And I want you and your partner to figure out 1, 2, and 3 on page 7. I want you to answer all the questions, but they all have to do with those 4 graphs. So go ahead, take a second, you and your partner, and let's talk about those 4 graphs. I think you can make a case for all of them. That's what you're trying to do, is how are they all different? I think this is just like that other thing we did.
I think it needs to like actually it works like that. Well, this one also.
be there. So it's all periods. So we
Yes,
don't know
that's
the
the
negative.
negative.
And that's what makes it confusing. The periods have. I mean, the conditions that are reciprocal, it's like, when it's the reciprocal, it's like you're just like, literally there's.
All right, have we found something different about all of them? Okay, what'd you find different about A? Amplitude is 2. All the rest of them have an amplitude of 1. So in other words, it's twice as tall as the rest of them. Okay, good. What did you find out or discover about B? If you start at the origin, that's a negative sign, and all the rest of them are a positive sign. How about C? Period's just pi instead of 2 pi. And what about D? It's vertically translated. In other words, its midline is not 0. Its midline is y equals 2. Perfect. All right, were you able to match them up then with the equations? Y equals sine 2x. Which one is that? That's which one? That's C. When you put a coefficient on x, what do you change? Period. Coefficient on, yes. Coefficient on x does this. So isn't C the one that we change the period on? Yeah. All right, what about y equals 2 sine x? That's your amplitude change, so that would be A. How about sine x minus pi? That's B. Because if you move over to pi, isn't your sign positive now? Right? So you could write B other ways, but that would fit B. That y equals sine x minus pi. And that leaves sine x plus 2 must be D. And that makes sense because it's lifted up. Now what about Kennedy? Is Kennedy right or wrong?
Right.
Yeah. Graph B, which is the one we said was sine x minus pi, isn't that also a negative sign? Yeah. Yeah, starting at the origin, going down. We okay with that? All right, let's look at the next page. Now we're gonna actually graph a couple. We're gonna graph negative 3 cosine. Does this have any shifts at all? Nope. It's gonna start right here somewhere. It's gonna go down and come back up and end right there. Would you agree with that? We haven't done any moving. Now we have, oops, that's not quite right. Because why? It's negative. What does that change? That means I don't start at the top of my sign, I start down here. Here's my shape. It's a negative cosine. All right, how high and low does it go? 3 to negative 3, perfect, that's its amplitude. Have I done anything to change its period? Nope, so what is its period? 2 pi. So from start to finish is 2 pi, so this must be 2 pi. Right here, the top of the hill, the middle of the whole thing, would be pi. And pi over 2, and 3 pi over 2. Now, what did I do there that confused you? Next, we're gonna do that one. That was gonna be a little bit harder. You okay? Alright, now we're gonna graph this. Now, there's no vertical shift, so this is still gonna be my midline. But instead of starting at the origin, which is the normal starting spot for a sine curve, instead of starting at the origin, where am I starting? Pi over 2. And my sine's gonna go up like this. Now you're fitting it on graph paper, so you know, talk about these labels for a second. What is my period of this thing? 2 pi. Guys, what's the period of every sine curve in the whole wide world? 2 pi. Unless you do what? What is the only way to change the period? Put a coefficient on x. Did I put one on there? No. Therefore, the period's 2 pi. This is not 2 pi. What is that going to be? 5 pi over 2. Because we started at a half and traveled 2, so that puts us, this is pi over 2 plus 2 pi. That's how we got that. What's the one right in the middle gonna be? 3 pi over 2. And this one will be 2 pi over 2. And this one will be 4 pi over 2. So as you are labeling, if we go this way, 0, and then negative pi over 2, and so on. Is that all right with everybody? Now the next one, I actually graphed for you. Let's talk about this. First of all, everything's raised up too, so I went ahead and put my midline in here. And then my amplitude's 5, so I went up 5 and down 5. These are totally not necessary, but I went ahead and put in some lines there because I know my curve, whatever it looks like, it's gonna be bouncing back and forth between these two lines. So now I'm gonna answer the question. Oh, by the way, there is a coefficient this time on x, so down here I said, I don't know, my period's supposed to be 2 pi, but it got divided by a half, so my new period is 4 pi. So I'm starting at 0, ending at 4 pi, so my divisions are 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. Now I can answer the questions. What's the domain? Negative infinity to infinity. Domain is x,
Will always be low?
and, yep, unless you've done something to stop it, the sine and cosine are always gonna have a domain of infinity, negative infinity to infinity. How about its range though? -3 to 7. Normally that would be -1 to 1, but we made some changes, so it's -3 to 7. How about my amplitude? Yep.
Is the range, is that within brackets?
Oh yeah. Yep. Because these points are included. Those are actual points on the graph. So yeah, those would be bracketed. And what's my amplitude? 5. Yep. Perfect. All right, we practiced a lot of this before, so let's look at number 3. Can you remember what we did yesterday? And write the equation for number 3. Take a minute, you and your partner, and see if you can come up with, and they tell you to use a sign, so make it a sign equation for problem number 3. Can you figure that out? So, and so let's go. What'd you put out in front? 1/2. Everybody got 1/2 for amplitude? What'd you put right here? 1. Why is that a 1? The period of the picture is 2 pi. And isn't the period supposed to be 2 pi? So therefore we didn't change it, so that's just a 1. And then what about our midline? Our midline is at -1. Is that okay? All right, which of the following is not equivalent to the other 3? In other words, 3 of those, if you graph them, are gonna look exactly the same. The other one is not. So find the one that doesn't look like the other ones.
Starting at the max and then start at the midline.
The x's can be negative. The period's so positive, the x's can be negative. You're graphing both ways.
I think I wrote something wrong where God is.
You alright, Dexter? What you did? What you get? Start, yeah, hold on.
Just what you want.
How you feel? $0 and 0 cents. Post game dinner, you just got booed out again.
Enzo, I'll pay you like $5. Enzo will just be like,
yeah, $20 for your car. Oh, that's not really
Okay, I was gonna try to do it with one graph, and I couldn't, so I ended up graphing each one of them individually. And it looks to me like the one that doesn't match the rest of them is D. This is A, so I shifted my cosine to the left, so it looks like this. But then it looks just like my negative sign. And that ends up looking just like my shifted sine curve. Shifted to the left, yeah. And that does not look like any of those.
What's the like sign of like a negative x? Like what's that doing to the
Okay, you need to watch the video, okay? You can't come in after missing several days and I can't do it, no. Watch the video, okay? It's a fine question, but it's one of the first classes that we answer. That's what office All right, now, here comes the fun exercise. On the next 2 pages, you have a page of graphs and a page of equations. And guess what you get to do? Match them.
Like
Right? Match them. So if you want to rip them out of your packet, that's totally fine. If you want to use like one person's graph page and one person's equation page, that's fine. And then page 10 is where you keep track of all of them. So page 10 is where you say, okay, graph A is, equation 12 or something like that. Okay?
Are you ripping it out or not?
So let's get, you can, it doesn't matter. They're not really notes.
Sir, Michael.
So let's see, you've got about 15 minutes. Let's see how much we can get done in 15 minutes. I'll do it too and see what I can do.
So it's 3. Hills that are 3.
This is essentially because it's just a, you just shift the sign.
11 is, or A is 11. Oh, wait, it is.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah. No, but that's. Oh,
Just copying you. I actually copied her.
With this one,
Oh, no, no,
like,
no.
If you and your partner, these are the graphs, if you and your partner have found a match, go ahead and bring it on up and put it where it belongs. So, like if you think this is graph 12, write 12 in there or something.
Should I just do, like, start it there?
You can do whatever you've done.
Wait, why did we roll that one out?
Yeah.
So that just means it's supposed to cross the x-axis. So like, say 2 cosine x, that would start here. Yeah, but since you got 5 by negative, start at -2, and, because it starts at 2, it goes down. So you start at -2, it can go up, because you're like multiplying like
I don't know what your strategy is, or what you're doing. They've listed some of them up here. They have 4 of them. The first 4.
Yeah, but there's a lot more. They have it on something else. Next, right here. This is a negative sign. I don't know how that would be
Oh, shoot.
That's the side, that's the amplitude side.
Oh, let's just do one. Oh, I don't we disagree yet.
Yeah, and you add 3 to it, so that 0, it would have been this, would have been. It's because right here it goes down.
I think that one is supposed to be.
That's what makes it negative.
Oh, this one.
Wait, no,
That's why, that's why I took the picture. I didn't do it bad. I didn't do it bad.
That's my interpretation.
Oh,
Right, Annabelle's gonna put some up too, she's got some done.
Just one of them, it's only one of them allowed to be school related. There's only one of them that's allowed to be school. It's talking to, it's your, it's the service experience, it's service experiences you've already done for school.
It's just search experiences you like. Just pick the most. Yeah, because you want to be able to talk about how it's.
Well, my 2 most recent ones were the baseball and the football.
Yeah.
Baseball one was
Okay,
fun.
Landon, no baseball and football right
Now
now.
we're talking about NHS.
Okay, but right now, we're talking about now. We're talking about right now.
Letters from.
The athletes can do NHS, you just have to play with
Okay,
it.
so let's move on to.
But you don't have to, it'll stress you out.
No.
Put some up here. Okay. Do you match what he's put up so far? She's got it.
I do too, I'm just letting other people.
Catch up.
I raised all my answers.
75 minutes was a guy, when like accepted the same invitation for this thing where there was someone's It was once a month, second semester, we all went. all 10 of us were on the bus. And we met 10 Western kids that did the same thing, and 10 HSC kids that did the same thing. There's 30 of us. Yes, we said we have to miss the first week. It's called ACT. A chance to see ACT.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. It's all in the instructions.
Literally everything's in the instructions.
They are in the
Yeah, we
Plus, that's when we'll pick it up from.
and it moves down to so wait, what's the it makes it bigger instead of squishy. Is that fraction period? Yeah. So this one is.
We got quiet. I gotta go see it.
I just haven't worked there since the summer.
Let's start.
Just got that right now.
It's the work day. It's the work day.
Negative signs in front of me,
Cosine starts at
what does the negative sign do?
I could wait till the last period of the day. I'll have to
No,
person
I'm
actually,
I'm wrong.
because I need to take instruction and show because I have to do it.
There comes Gus.
I need to add the range.
Go ahead and film it.
There's a section.
They're like, you have some you're still filling in.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Oh, and that's what. Oh, all coming together. I still don't know. Oh, wait, no. Yes. The amplitude. Okay, so the amplitude.
All right. I don't know where you are. Are you done?
Did you do all of them?
Check them. I don't know if these are right or not. You know what I mean?
I did.
Are you still playing baseball?
Is it still doing that?
Yes, of course.
In one.
No, check my first
Yes, because it originally should have been.
And that's
You reset your history.
I clear my history every time I'm done with the video.
all right, we're almost out of time. Here are the answers. If you haven't finished, go ahead and jot those down. I don't know if these are the right answers. That's what we need to figure out, if they're right. So go ahead and jot them down. And
We moved at 1:40.
I'm not gonna see you tomorrow, so I'm gonna give you my little Valentine.
Yes.
It's like, oh yeah, that's it. It's like 3 cool problems for you to work on. But when you're sitting around in like, I don't know, English class, and you have anything to do, you can work on your little Valentine.
I do them all the time. They're all the same.
Completely optional.
It's just bots. It's just people trying to farm the bots. That's all it is. But yeah, I see. We all be seeing.
I solve it just to make myself feel smart.
Then I type it in the chat. You're like 46.
I did it.
On Tuesday. There are office hours on Tuesday and Thursday, not Wednesday. So next week, office hours are Tuesday and Thursday. Okay? Wednesday, there's something else going on, and then Friday is virtual. All right, so before we leave, which we're going to in a minute, so I need you to get your stuff gathered up here. Did anybody find a mistake in any of these kids' work?
I don't believe so.
Don't believe so? All right, but I'm gonna write these down, and they better be right.
What if just everybody got them wrong?
I know.
Some chickens are so low. Oh, you want your live?
Your phones stay here, everything stays here. Gather things out.
Well,
We sit in our